3 years ago, Silver Quill, MLP-Silver Quill. Excuse me, my mic, my thumb hit the mic. A little over 3 years ago, 3 years ago, Silver Quill did a video where he talked about Flash Sentry, and I listened to the video. And Silver Quill, if you're listening, I understand. I completely agree with you on a lot of things. You know, he's a character that just, in a sense, when you think about it, folks, came out of nowhere. It's like all of a sudden he's a potential love interest for Twilight. And I guess that's good and everything. At least you develop that there might be something there for her to reach and obtain in the end. That's great. But who, because here's the one question a lot of people have, a lot of fans have, even to this day. It's like, who is Flash Sentry? Was he just introduced and given a bit of a cameo role in lines in the Equestria Girls movie, just so when Twilight goes to the Equestria human world and meets up with the human version of Flash, that there's that connection? Is that it? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When you're going to create a love interest for the potential, for the potential, sorry about that, for the lead protagonist, whether the male or female, that the love interest, whether that's a male or a female, the love interest has to be known by the fans. The fans that either read the comics or watch the show or even watch the movie, they have to be given a chance to get to know who the potential love interest is. A good example for me would be Sonic the Hedgehog. Did I know about Sally when I first saw her? No. But thanks to the comics, thanks to the Saturday morning cartoon, guess what? I found out more about her, found out about the background, found out who she was, saw who she was, and like many fans out there, we saw the potential of her being a decent love interest and foil for someone like Sonic. So we got to know her. If you're a longtime fan of Sailor Moon, which the magical girl part of Equestria Girls is sort of inspired by, if you're a longtime fan of Sailor Moon, you got to know, I think, on several occasions, through the anime, through the manga, you got to know who Tuxedo Mask was. You got to know who he was, not just out, not just with the mask, but, behind the mask. You got to know who he was. You got to know the person behind the mask, as well as, like I said, you got to know him as Tuxedo Mask. So you got the chance to know him both through the anime and the manga of exactly who Tuxedo Mask was. And you could see the potential of him being the love interest of Sailor Moon. You could see that. The same goes if you're a fan of Winx Club. Winx Club, which has basically has gone on and become very popular, and it's got a new series on Netflix. You got to know, I can't think of his name, but you got to know the guy that became Bloom's love interest. You kind of got to know him, not maybe as much as Tuxedo Mask or someone like a Sally Acorn, no, but you got to know who he was in a sense and why he cares about not just the role he's training for or has been given, but why he has a caring affection for Bloom. You see that, you can understand it, and in a sense you can kind of potentially see why he'd be a good love interest. When it comes to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, there are some examples as to why you could see certain characters as potential love interest as well. A lot of people want to see Soren and Rainbow Dash get together, And they see this because they can kind of see that connection. They can kind of see that Soren's a nice guy and is someone that could be a good foil for Rainbow Dash to kind of keep her in line and keep her ego in line. But he's a very caring individual when he's written correctly by the right people in the eyes of a lot, as some fans would point out. And as crazy as it sounds, same with Spike. You could see the potential with Spike and Rarity. You could see someone in Spike that's very loving, very generous, very caring, is willing to stick up for his friends despite his size. And when it comes to Rarity, here's someone that literally gave up something he wanted to basically was going to be a birthday gift to himself. And out of the goodness of his heart, he said, you know what? I don't really need it. If it means this much to my friend, I'm going to give it to her. And yes, maybe it was done out of love, done out of something more than just friendship for her. But that's who. But you see that, and you're like, Spike is a potential good love interest for someone like Rarity. And if you look at it from Rarity's perspective, you could see here's somebody that, even though she could be highfalutin, self-absorbed and all that, is very generous, very loving, and can see the potential in someone like Spike if given the opportunity. A lot of fans have explored this through fan fiction, fan works, you name it. And even the creative staff, the writing staff on the show and in the comics, I think they know this as well. Oh, and again, you see those hints here and there of that potential. I mean, heck, you want a good example of them acknowledging it, and even though it was a little Easter egg, if you will, it was towards the end of Scaremaster when Fluttershy and her friends went a little too far in scaring the other main six and Spike. That who is Spike with most of the time? Like, who is Spike with when they go into the dark part of the cornfield? Who's the one that Spike goes back to when she kind of loses a heel, when she breaks a heel? Who's the one that curls up with Spike when they get scared and during the climax? Rarity. So basically the creative staff, whether they don't officially acknowledge it or they do someday, at least they're letting you know, they're hinting at it. They understand. And the potential of romance between the two, love interest. Well, and what makes that work between the two is at least you get to know the characters and how well they can play off each other. You see that. But when it comes to a character like Flash Sentry, what do you got besides Twilight on several occasions, either in the series or at the beginning of Equestria Girls? What do you have Twilight do? Just bump into him several times out of awkward distractedness. And what do you give him to say in the movie? That one time she bumps into him in the movie, oh, we got to stop meeting up like this? That's your catalyst, that's your foundation to say, okay, he's going to be her love interest when she goes to the human world. Is that your catalyst? Because if you're counting on the human version of Flash Sentry to introduce us to who Flash is, even as far as a friendship as magic counterpart is concerned, I don't think it was the best idea. I mean, if Equestria Girls was its own thing, had nothing to do with My Little Pony at all, then there would be then I think a lot of people would be more acceptable of the fact of Flash Sentry being there. I think they would have been more acceptable. But here's the thing. Equestria Girls is part of My Little Pony, in a sense, or spun off from it. And this character is based off a character that we barely got to know. And the people behind Equestria Girls was depending on the first movie, in the second movie, and even the third movie to say, and even the fourth movie, in fact all the movies, to introduce us to this character and get us to kind of get behind him, to cheer for him as a potential love interest. But here's the problem. Okay? But here's the problem, okay? The problem being is, unlike the other love interests I've mentioned before, we don't really know much about him, and you're depending on the Equestria Girl spinoff to get us to know him as far as both counterparts are concerned, or both versions are concerned. It doesn't work that way. When you think about it, it really doesn't work that way. Let me put it to you like this. When they did, I think, the episode for the season 5 finale, and they had them going through all these different worlds, Twilight and Spike, going through all these different alternate times, and encountering alternate versions of their friends. Do you not think when Spike encountered that one alternate version of Rarity in the Nightmare Moon world, that didn't hurt his feelings when she gave basically the way she reacted to him in that world? Of course it did. Yeah, he probably understood. Of course it did. I mean, sure, he understood, okay, this is not the Rarity I know, but it kind of hurt him because he saw a side of her that didn't want, he saw a side of her that he never thought he'd see. The point I'm getting at, the point I'm getting at is, when you see that, you kind of understand the emotion-wise, how Spike feels. Sure, it wasn't that much, a little bit, but still, it's kind of an emotion to where he felt a little sad seeing this side of her, but kind of came to his senses and realized, okay, this is not the real Rarity. What I'm getting at is you were emotionally, if not connectively, invested. The thing is, with Flash, Ash, you don't get that sense because you didn't get to know the Friendship is Magic version of him before you saw the Equestria Girls version of him. I mean, like I said, did they expect the Equestria Girls version to be the way we got to know him? No. The only reason when you look at this in the end, the only reason Flash was brought in was the same reason Tuxedo Mask was brought in, the same reason that Bloom's love interest was brought in, the same reason Sally Acorn was brought in, all to be love interest for the main protagonist. Nothing more. As far as magical girls go, and even if you combine it with high school, which Winx Club and Sailor Moon do, the only way the show succeeds from a character developing standpoint for the main protagonist is, one of the main things you need for them is a love interest. That's what Sailor Moon has, that's what Winx Club has. Whether this character has a lot of personality that you can get behind and understand, oh yeah, they'd be perfect, or they don't, that's always the reasoning as to them being there. Always the reasoning for them being there, so that they can be more. So instead of just being, what they are, like a knight or a knight in training in Winx Club, or a hero that comes to the aid of the Sailor Scouts. Else, they're mainly there to be love interest. That's it. Sally Acorn, whether you like her or you don't, strategical princess, tomboy, fighter, battlefield fighter, you name it. Strategic, easy for me to say. Strategist, strategic, on the, get our hands dirty, tomboy on the battlefield kind of deal, princess, whether you like her or you don't, and a lot of fans do. She was also created to be a love interest for Sonic. That's about it. I like Sally Acorn. Believe me, I'm a fan of Sally Acorns. A lot of people are. But the point is, when you get down to it, the reality. Take every good potential thing about her and put that to the side. You take any other potential bad thing you may not like about her and put it to the side, and you see that she's nothing more than the love interest. And a lot of people have pointed that out. But you put all this stuff together, all the potential good and bad or whatever, and it allows you to kind of get to know the character so that when you see her get together with someone like Sonic, you can understand the dynamic. You can understand the reasoning. You know, with someone like Flash, she was just put in there to be the love interest as far as the Equestria Girls version of My Little Pony goes. That's it. You know, he wasn't meant to be anything else. I mean, like I said, Equestria Girls had nothing to do with My Little Pony. There'd probably be a difference of opinion on the character, but there isn't. There is not a difference of opinion on the character. And I think that's why fans kind of resent him. It's because of the fact that instead of getting to know the My Little Pony version of him a lot better, you're trying to get us to know him through the Equestria Girls version, and that doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, yeah, you can give him some good prominent roles, and you can give him all the kind of stereotypes you want when it comes to a love interest. But the point is, in the end, what do we really know about him besides, oh, he's based off the Friendship is Magic version of himself that barely got any screen time when you put it all together. I'm just saying. So hopefully when season 8 and potentially season 9 come around, we'll get more interaction with him down the line. You know what? One thing about the Cutie Map deal, whether we can understand the Cutie Map's positioning in the show now or not, one thing about it is we've learned that in this season it assigns not just the main 6 but also different other ponies it believes it can entrust to fulfill friendship missions. Here's my thought. What if they have some? Here's what I hope. I hope they have an episode to maybe he gets selected, and perhaps Twilight gets selected, or he gets selected, and Spike gets selected, and you go from there. There's potential right there. There's a potential way of getting to know who Flash Sentry is. But hopefully, in the upcoming season or seasons, we get to know this character better and perhaps have a better understanding as to why he could potentially be a love interest for Twilight in this series, and why he was potentially a good one in Equestria Girls. I'm just saying, folks. So, because like Silver Quill, I'm doing my darndest to kind of talk about, about this whole situation with this character, but it's like I said, you take a look at the ones I've mentioned, big difference, we got to know who they were. We got to know who they were. We got to know who each and every one of the characters were. Here, we don't even know who Flash is. Here, the only thing we go off of is Twilight bumping into him twice. In the movie and in the series. That's it. Because, like I said, if they expected Equestria Girls to be the way we got to know him, it didn't work. So all I can say is, Hasbro, DHX Media, Megan McCarthy, Jason Therese, whoever's listening, you're going to bring this character back in some form of capacity. Let us have a chance to get to know him, so that at least you can give us a better understanding as to why he could be a potential love interest for Twilight. That's all that me and any other fans ask. So, that's all I can really say, folks. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to y'all later.